Good evening, YouTube, and welcome back to another edition of Paisano's Music and Vinyl Talk. I am your host, as always, Paisano. Tonight we're going to talk about Ozzy Osbourne. Ozzy! Absolutely. And his extraordinarily interesting live album called Speak of the Devil that came out in 1983. Now, there's quite a story that goes along with this one, so bear with me, please. Back when, sometime back, I reviewed Ozzy's first solo album, Blizzard of Oz, and I explained about how Ozzy got fired from his original group, Black Sabbath, and he hooked up with Randy Rhoads, who's widely considered one of the greatest rock guitar players of all time. And he started his own solo band. So I guess sometime in 1982 or 81, management wanted Ozzy to do a live album, strictly Black Sabbath material. Now Randy, who by all accounts hated playing Black Sabbath songs, outright refused. And Rudy Sarzo, the bassist, and Tommy Aldridge, the drummer, eventually backed him up on this. They felt they had enough of their own material not to do it, and considered, that taking a step backwards. Sharon, Ozzy's wife and manager, took it pretty well. Ozzy took it terribly, freaked out, and as Rudy Sarzo claims, Ozzy went on a massive drinking binge. His relationship with Randy Rhoads was never the same. Gave him rations of shit, saying that he could be replaced with Frank Zappa and Gary Moore to do the album if he wouldn't do it. And, sadly, their relationship was never the same, and Randy was making plans to leave Ozzy's band when he died in that senseless plane accident. All right, fast forward a few months to September of 1982. Ozzy owes Jet Records a live album, and he comes up with an album of all Black Sabbath songs, as was proposed the previous year. And he's got with him Rudy Sarzo on bass, Tommy Aldridge on drums, but he has Brad Gillis on guitar. This is the only official appearance of Brad Gillis on an Ozzy recording. It was before he joined the band Night Ranger, which he helped found. And they ran through 2 records worth of Black Sabbath songs. Now, there's some very interesting tales online about the recording of this. It was supposedly recorded September 26th and September 27th of 1982 at the Ritz in New York City. Now, the Ritz holds under 1,000 people, so this was really an underwhelming concert by Ozzy standards. He was really grieving Randy Rhoads and what he had, and he was back to drinking and drugging like the madman that he is. And the producer of this album, Max Norman, has gone on record by saying that at least 90% of this was recorded on the 27th of September without an audience present, and crowd noise was added after that. Now, other people that worked on the album said, it wasn't quite that many. There might have been 3 or 4 songs that weren't performed. So, weren't performed in front of an audience. And they said if you put on headphones and really concentrated, you could figure out which songs were not. So, I don't know, it all depends who you want to believe. But this is a highly, highly entertaining album. It was recorded pretty loud. It played played very well. I listened to the MP3 that I made from this record back in 2016. I listened to the MP3 of it, and it plays very well, and it is very upfront, very loud recording, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. Ozzy's in-between song banter is absolutely priceless. Vintage, effed up Ozzy, vintage Ozzy. Let's go over the track listing. Side 1, Symptom of the Universe. Now there's a good one. That's a way to get the crowd going. Off of Sabotage by Black Sabbath, followed by Snowblind and Black Sabbath, the song. Side 2, Fairies Wear Boots, War Pigs, and The Wizard. Side 3, NIB, Sweet Leaf, and Never Say Die. And side 4, Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, Iron Man / Children of the Grave, and the encore was Paranoid. Yeah, I enjoyed this album quite a bit. And the cover, the cover's something else here. Ozzy with what appears to be a bunch of strawberry jelly coming out of his mouth, trying to portray the madman persona that he tried for so many years. And we got an interesting shot on the inside, Ozzy. And that was a hired dwarf that they had with them. Ozzy actually nicknamed him Ronnie, alluding to Ronnie James Dio's size. Ronnie was not a big man, but it was an insult to Ronnie. And both Black Sabbath, fronted by Ronnie James Dio, and Ozzy were both racing to get live albums out. Black Sabbath released Live Evil, which had several, Ozzy written songs on it, as well as their own material they had done since Ronnie James Dio took over. But Speak of the Devil hit the shelves first. Ozzy was determined to beat them to the punch. On the back, you got the notes, shot of the band with Brad Gillis. Brad Gillis did a heck of a job on this album, I tell you. He wasn't that familiar with Black Sabbath songs, and he performed like a champ. Did a very nice job. Very, very nice job. Great guitar player. And this is the vinyl, record 1, Jet Records, very small label owned by Epic. And they had Ozzy for a few releases. They released at least one of his solo albums, Blizzard of Oz. This one, I'm not sure if they did Diary of a Madman too. They probably did, because I think Ozzy still owed them records at that point. All right. I hope you enjoyed this little bebop down memory lane with our good friend Ozzy. And if you're enjoying our discussions, please like and subscribe. It would mean quite a bit to me. What will Paisano dig up next week? Tune in, find out. Thank you, and good night, YouTube.